Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. I'm looking at a Kasla, the Broken Halo. Convoking Queen is what I'm calling this deck. This is a deck I actually have in real life, which I usually do my deck checking series, but it's very, very budget. I didn't realize how budget it was until I put it all into Moxfield, because I wanted to make some switches. And I was like, oh, it's under $40. I guess that's a budget deck. Hey, cool. Alright, so this is definitely an interesting one. I want to make a video talking about different types of commanders and their design. This is something that was made in 2021. For a while they were making cards that were specifically designed to be commanders, and this is definitely one of those cards. It wouldn't really make sense in the 99, or if you had it in the 99, you'd need some other very similar card with maybe more color, like a larger color identity or something. But yeah, I definitely see this as a commander, not a 99 card. Anyway, okay, enough rambling about that. She's all about Convoke. That's kind of one of the main things they did when they were designing cards specifically for Commander, was make cards that are just about a mechanic, really focusing on that mechanic and not much else. Anyway, so she is 3 blue, red, white, so 6 CMC. That's high. Oh my. A 5/4. She does have flying, vigilance, and haste. Okay, so that's not a bad start. Whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke, scry 2, then draw a card. Okay, so she has Convoke, and anytime you cast a Convoke spell, you're going to scry 2, draw 1. That's huge, right? All your Convoke spells are basically cantrips almost, Like you're always replacing, if you cast the card, you replace the card. And remember, Convoke cards, I'm going to talk about that in a second, but you can basically cast them for free, and then you're going to be drawing a card off of casting something essentially for free. Anyway, okay, she is 21 cents right now only. Yeah. So important Convoke points. So we're talking about this Convoke deck. It's very important to really understand how Convoke works if you're going to do this deck. So yeah, Convoke cost benefit from Convoke does benefit from cost reduction. So yeah, any cost reduction does count towards Convoke. The price is calculated after, right? Some effects will not do that, but this does. Convoke can be used to pay commander tax. So again, if she gets knocked out and you need to bring her back, she's probably better at it than most others. Even though she has that high casting cost, you're going to be able to pay that commander tax by tapping creatures, which makes it a lot easier. That's for sure. Okay, the convoking spell causes the creature to be tapped. Therefore, summoning sickness does not affect the ability to tap the creature for Convoke. This is really huge in this deck because we have a lot of effects where cast a non-creature spell, make a token, right? There's a lot of things where you're going to be able to make tokens just by casting spells, which you can then use those tokens to cast spells. So yeah, you're kind of making mana as you're using it. So you don't really have to use land or anything. Well, I guess at the beginning you do, but if there's a board wipe you do, but yeah. Okay. Any creature may... the point I was making, the tokens, right when they come in, you can use them immediately. You can tap them for mana. Of course, they have summoning sickness, so you can't attack with them, but you can use them for Convoke, because the convoking spell is what's tapping them. They're not tapping themselves. Any creature may tap to pay 1 of the color of the mana cost. If their creature is that color, it is important to keep track of your token creature's colors. So whatever color the creature is, they can tap for that colored mana, right? They can tap for 1 colorless or a colored mana if they have that color. So all your creature tokens, make sure you know what color they are. Usually it maybe doesn't really matter that much. In this, it's super important. Okay. Yeah, as I said, 6 is a high cost for a commander, but yeah, Convoke makes is really something that you weigh against the CMC, and that's true of this deck in general. the deck has a much higher average mana cost than I'd usually want to put into a deck. I think it was 2.32 with lands and 3.31 maybe without. You know what, I'm not even sure about that, but it's really high. Way higher than I'd usually think was okay. Pretty much all of the expensive spells though have Convoke. So they're going to be easy for you to cast, to tap creatures to cast, and you're also going to get the benefit of Scry 2 draw 1 every time. So that high casting cost really turns to your favor at a certain point. And as I said, yeah, Scry 2 is very powerful, right? You're always going to be able to like get the draw, well, have a better chance of getting the card you want to hand, or like, yeah, you're sorting and drawing, sorting, draw every single time. You could potentially cast a lot of spells with her per turn. So yeah. And keep in mind, yeah, you can, there's also effects that will let you cast Convoke on other people's turns as well. There's things that allow you to grant Convoke, which will let you like turn pretty much any instant or sorcery into a Convoke spell, which is very important. Yeah, any spell with Convoke, whether Convoke is actually used or not, will trigger the Scry card draw. As long as the spell has Convoke, you get to Scry card draw. You don't actually have to use the Convoke to activate the ability. So that's another important thing to keep in mind. Also, if you can start granting Convoke to things, you don't actually have to use the Convoke. The card will have Convoke even if you just pay it the cost normally, and then you're going to Scry 2 draw 1 every time. There's a lot of things there's at least 2 things in this that, I'm thinking 3 now, 3 things in this that, yeah, will give Convoke and don't actually cost any mana. So you're just going to be Scry 2 draw 1 for playing a card anytime. Like, or not anytime, but pretty close. The deck price, so it's $39.16 right now. I know I always go back and check these later and they go way up, so if you're going to get it soon. The design objective, get the most out of the Convoke triggers and her ability to cast multiple spells per turn. These Convoke triggers and the number of spells are directly related, right? More spells you cast with Convoke, the more of those triggers you're hitting. Yeah, this is determined using the TCG market price, not a sponsor. Yeah. One of my commenters caught me one time not saying not a sponsor, so I always remember now. The shipping cost on TCG is apparently very high, so maybe you want to use Card Kingdom. Card Kingdom does have a higher list price for the deck, though. I'm still using TCG just because I think I've made almost 200 videos now using TCG. I didn't find out that the price on their shipping was high until later. I've contacted them and asked them if they could like give me a code or something that would let me reduce the price. They still have not gotten back to me though. They say they will. I got an automated response that was a very polite computer. Anyway, yeah, and you can check the deck on moxfield.com. I'm going to put a link in the description. Part 1, Kasla the Broken Hero. So this is about the commander. I know we already talked about the commander, but this is kind of more in this deck. Yeah, the commander, how it works in this deck. So it's all about getting those Convoke triggers. That's the main thing. So yeah, her own Convoke does not trigger her ability, unfortunately. Getting mass tokens is very important to keep casting and get her out early. So we have so many token generators in this that we're just gonna like, yeah, hopefully just make a horde of tokens is what we're going for. So we can just keep casting. We also got 4 untap effects, right? So that's gonna let you untap and then you're just gonna keep casting. We do have Intruder Alarm, which I'm gonna talk about in a second here, which is maybe a bit of a mixed bag. I don't know. Okay, Cetus, Sea Tyrant of Segovia. I actually said it, I think. Anyway, so it's a battle. Yeah, I know people don't like battles. Okay, sorry, but this one is important, I think. So when it enters and when it casts as a battle, it creates 2 tokens when it enters and grants all your non-creature spells Convoke. Okay, when it enters, you get those 2 creatures, and then when you defeat the battle, you get this, and it gives non-creature spells you cast have Convoke. So all non-creatures are going to have Convoke as soon as you have this, and it's just like basically scry card draw country after that. At the beginning of your end step, untap up to 4 creatures. So you're going to use all your creatures to tap down for mana, and then you're going to untap a bunch of them for defense or more mana if you want, you know? Either way. Intruder Alarm. So yeah, this is the mixed bag one. So this does also untap your opponent's creatures. That's the big downside. Creatures don't untap during their controller's untap step. So no one's creatures untap during untap step, but every time a creature enters the battlefield, everyone untaps everything. So you're getting a lot more value out of all of those creatures being untapped than everyone else at the table probably is. That's the main thing to remember, right? So this could be if you've got someone that's like playing a bunch of mana dorks or another Convoke deck, don't put this down. Yeah, so it is very, very useful, but there are situations where you don't want to play this, I think. Yeah. Okay. Walking Atlas. Okay, usually this is a pretty meh card. In this deck, it's actually pretty incredible. It's just ramp, right? So it's a construct. It is supposed to be artifact construct. Apparently it was printed wrong. I found out after I made a video saying that it wasn't an artifact. Fun. Anyway. So for 2 mana, it's a 1/1. You can tap it and you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. You're going to be drawing lots of cards, and you're going to be able to sort them and make sure you have 1 or 2 lands, or even more, all the time. As soon as you got those untap effects on, you can just untap this, and then tap it again, put down a land. Another creature, Intruder Alarm for instance, every time a creature comes into the battlefield, he untaps, and then you tap him again, put down another land. Him and Intruder Alarm is just like ramp crazy. As long as you can keep getting lands to your hand, which should not be very hard with this commander, you can just keep dropping lands, and really it turns into, like, I think more ramp than most even green decks can do. Rose Room Treasurer. Okay, so this is one with Alliance. I'm actually going to do an Alliance video soon. I love Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token. If it's the first or second time. So yeah, the first 2 creatures you make every turn, you're going to make treasure tokens as well. 2 treasure tokens just for getting creatures, even your token creatures, right? You're going to be able to make them very, very easily. They're going to be able to tap for mana, and they're also going to be able to make treasures that will tap for mana. Or sack for mana, whatever you want to say. Otherwise you may pay X. When you do, Rose Room Treasurer deals X damage to any target. So yeah, after the first 2, number 3 and on, you can just start like tapping as much mana as you want to just do automatic damage. Remember, this is more useful for you because you can use all of your creatures as mana, and you can use your land for damage then. So yeah. Still maybe not ideal, but if someone's like getting low, you can finish them off pretty easy. Prava of the Steel Legion. Okay, so 2 and a white for a 1/4. As long as it's your turn, other creatures you control, other tokens you control, creature tokens you control, get +1/+4. I don't know why I want to say other, but anyway. And for 3 and a white, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Okay, the boost to your tokens is huge in this deck. You're going to be making so many of them, and on your turn only. Remember, your turn only, they get +1/+4. So they're like 2 5s, minimum 2 5s. Crazy. And yeah, being able to make the creature token, I think For 3 and a white, it's not a good deal usually, but remember, if you have Rose Room Treasurer, you might be making a treasure token, and you also might, yeah, you can immediately tap that creature for mana, basically using it for Convoke. So yeah, this ends up being like net 2 mana to get a token, which is getting reasonable at least. That's still not the best deal, but yeah, it ain't bad. Saheeli, Sublime Artificer, actually have a few effects that are almost the same as this, so she's kind of representative of like a type of thing. Anyway, for 1 and then red, blue or red, she is a Planeswalker with 5 starting loyalty, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. It would be great if those had color, but you know what? It's just mana. So every time you cast a spell, I think there are 3 of these that trigger off a non-creature every time you cast a non-creature spell. You could potentially make 3 every time you cast a non-creature spell. And if you're casting that non-creature spell with Convoke, then you're kind of just making mana. And if the Intruder Alarm is out, it's going to untap everything as well, which is going to give you all your mana back, basically. So it's crazy. Nelia, Sun's Vanguard. Nelia, whatever. Okay, so she is 2 red-white for a 3/3. Attacking tokens you control have double strike. Again, Prava and her together, oh boy. You're going to have just a horde of 2/5s all of a sudden with double strike. Double strike 2/5s out of nowhere. Like, you're sitting there with a bunch of 1/1s and maybe people aren't too concerned. Then it's like 2/5s with double strike all of a sudden. Hey, remember double strike is first strike too, so any of blockers they use that have toughness 2 or less, they're just gone. Anyway, whenever 1 or more tokens you control attack a player, exile the top card of your library. During any turn you attacked with the token, you may play that card. So usually the exile a card from the top of your deck is for that turn only, and that's the major limitation. She doesn't have that. It's anytime you attack with a token. So you can attack with like each separate player with tokens, and then yeah. Or, you know what, just do 1, I guess. Attack with the token, exile a card. Next turn, attack with token, exile a card. And then you can cast either of them. And then the next turn, you can do it again. And you're going to have 3 cards in exile. You can play anytime you want, as long as you attack with the token. That's just a whole lot of value right there. Again, the downside of the exiling from the top of your deck is just kind of erased with her, I think. Wildfire Awakener. Oh boy, this is like, I think, the #1 Convoke card in the deck. So yeah, he is X1 red-white, so not cheap for a 3/2, but he has, again, Convoke, and when he enters the battlefield, create X1/1 red elemental creature tokens with whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to target player. So you can Convoke this guy and basically double your whatever mana you put into him, and yeah, then you all of those tokens you can immediately tap for more mana, and they're going to just start damaging people like crazy. It's oh boy. Part 2, the plan. Okay, so these are our deck objectives. What do we want to win, right? Okay, so first of all, ramp. Always ramp, right? Token creation, tap untap effects. This is very big in this deck, both for win cons and for like functionality. Finally, win cons, right? So ramp, we've got Walking Atlas, which I already talked about, potentially just like huge. Thought Vessel, give no maximum hand size. That's an effect we want. We also got Decanter of Endless Water and what's the land called? I'm spacing. I put it in like every deck, and yeah, anyway, the land that lets you have no hand size limit. Moon Silver Key. This is a card I thought was going to go crazy in value and didn't. This is so good. people like Wayfarer's Bauble, this is just upgraded Wayfarer's Bauble. Okay, so it costs 2, and then you can pay 1 and tap it to sacrifice Silver Key, right. Search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability or a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Okay, why Wayfarer's Bauble is better is kind of obvious. It doesn't go to the battlefield, right? But this is better, I think, still, because you can get any mana rock you want, right? Any artifact that makes mana, you can go get it right away. And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to look for Wand of the World Soul. So it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add 1 white. There's the mana. And yeah, you can just tap it, and the next spell you cast this turn has Convoke. So you just tap it, and whatever spell you want has Convoke. Whoa. Again, you could tap this on someone else's turn, right? And use an instant with Convoke. Any instant you want has Convoke all of a sudden. Keeper of the Accord. If you do get behind, this is like your catch-up card right here. Excuse me. So, at the beginning of each player's end step, if that player controls more creatures than you, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Probably not going to happen, but if it does, great. Then you've got your token. At the beginning of each player's end step, if that player controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a basic plains card, put it into the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. I actually played this deck and had this card, and I got all of my basic plains cards. I was like, oh, I wish I had more basic plains now. I got all 5 of them. Oops. Token creation. Okay, so Akim the Soaring Wind, 2, and Jeskai, I guess, for a 3/4 flyer, and anytime you make a token, this creates an extra token, a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying. So any time you're creating tokens, there's a lot of triggers where you make 1 token, make 1 token, make 1 token. This is going to make it 2. Usually making 1 extra token you think isn't that good. This deck is going to just keep making tokens, right? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And you can also have multiple times the skill will trigger from one thing. Like, if you cast a non-creature spell, you might be able to make 2 or 3 creature tokens. That wouldn't double it, right? That's... Every time that triggers, it makes 1. It makes 1 extra, makes 1, makes 1 extra. Anyway, yeah. You get it. Horn of Valhalla. I really love this card. Alright, so... For 1 and a white, you can cast it. It is an adventure. That's one thing that's really nice. For X white, create X 1/1 white creature tokens. Again, this is something where you want to give it Convoke, right? You want to give it Convoke when you're casting it, so you can really just go crazy. Equip creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. So this is kind of obvious where this is going, right? This is kind of one of your win cons here. Path of the third path iconoclast. I just want to add "of the" to the names. I don't know why. Anyway, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless creature token, colorless soldier artifact creature token. Again, him, Sahili, and we've got another one in here that does the same thing. Form a posse. This is, once again, give this Convoke. Alright, give this Convoke, and then it's like another win con, basically. Alright, so create X 1/1 red mercenary creature tokens. The tokens have a color, that's always nice. You can tap them. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Kind of wish it was instant speed, but still, this is, you can make a whole bunch of them and then just like double your, or give all of those bonuses to your commander, basically. It's almost like enlist, but anyway, alright. And yeah, very quickly you're going to get to your commander damage, right? Rabble Arousing. This is actually one I just added last night. It has Hideaway, which is a big thing from New Capenna, right? Anyway, or a big feature of new Capenna cards, I should say. 4 and a white. For an enchantment, whenever you attack with one or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green and white creature citizen tokens. Citizen creature tokens, bleh. Then if you control 10 or more creatures, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Again, Highway 5 means you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you choose one of them, and you usually put it under that card, and then as soon as you have 10 or more and you attack, you get to just, first of all, make more tokens and then play that card for free. Oh my, oh my. Definitely value. Even the 5 casting cost sounds like a lot, but it's going to cast another spell for free, and it's going to just like create ridiculous numbers of tokens. So yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Intruder Alarm we already talked about. Jeskai Ascendancy. Okay, so this is a tap-on-tap effect, sorry. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, again, non-creature spell, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap those creatures. Again, this is better than Intruder Alarm kind of because it only affects you. But yeah, cast a non-creature spell, cast a creature spell, Intruder Alarm untaps everybody. Cast a non-creature spell, and untaps you. Oh boy. And gives everything +1/+1. And also you may draw a card if you do discard a card. More card draw. Hey, lovely. Card sorting maybe because of the discard, but anyway. Prosperous Partnership. So when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. We only care about the white, but still it's nice. It costs 3, you can kind of use it for 2 mana immediately. And tap 3 untap creatures you control. Create a treasure token. We've got so many untap effects in this deck, things that will be able to untap your creatures all the time. You want to leave things open so that people are like scared to attack you or mess with you? If you do, this is great because then you have something to do. You can just tap them down and make a bunch of treasure as well. Even if Intruder Alarm's out, you can just tap them down and like pretty much every turn you can just make a bunch of treasure, and if they want to do almost anything, they're going to have to like cast a creature spell, right? So yeah. Saint Taft and Rem. Carlos? I never said that out loud before. So when it becomes tapped, create a 1/1 red human, and then the second time it becomes tapped, a 1/1 blue spirit creature token with flying, and then the third time a 4/4 white angel with flying. Every time he taps, also whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, untap him. So it's going to keep untapping. Every time you can use him to Convoke, he's going to make a token, then he's going to untap. So you can use him again and then untap, use him again and then untap, and you're just going to keep making creature tokens out of him. Obviously the 4/4 angel with flying is the best, but yeah, those really do a lot of work. Githzerai Monk, this is all about tapping down other people, right? So he has Flash, which is always nice, and when he enters the battlefield, tap all creatures you don't control. Okay, so he's going to enter the battlefield, you tap down everybody's stuff, and then you just attack. Yeah, very simple one. Win con number 1. So I always want to think about like combat and commander damage first on my win cons, and here's our commander damage. Again, Kasla, of course, the commander. She's particularly good because not only she has vigilance and haste, which is great, but flying, right? Evasion. Evasion is pretty huge. So the form of posse, where you're making all those tokens that can just tap to give her a big buff, and Horn of Valhalla. Once again, all of your creatures are basically giving her +1/+1 per creature. She starts as a 5/4, right? She's got 5 damage, so to one-shot people, you need 16 more. Having 15 other creatures, not hard to do in this deck. And Form of Posse makes that even less, right? if you have Form and Posse, those are all going to count towards the Horn of Valhalla, and you can tap them to give her extra as well. So even if you have like 5 of those, you're going to be basically up 10 for commander damage, right? Pretty significant, pretty significant. Anyway, yeah, not hard to close that. 16 attack power might sound like a lot. It ends up not being that bad. Win con number 2, token combat. Alright, so this is an important point here. You have to cast one and then the other. Okay, so Hour of Reckoning does have Convoke. Alright, first of all, this does have Convoke. So yeah, you can do a lot with that. Destroy all non-token creatures. Alright, that's why you need to cast her second. Is because, yeah, all your non-token creatures are gone, right? Including your commander, unfortunately. But yeah, attacking token creatures have double strike. Alright, so yeah, you're gonna pretty much blow up everything else. And then yeah, you're gonna give all of your tokens double strike. Hopefully you can cast Prava as well and just make them bigger. And yeah, 2 5s with double strike. That just can't be blocked because everything's gone. Really not that difficult, right? Again, you need like 20 damage altogether. Even if they are 1/1s, that's 21 1s with double strike to get the job done, right? That's assuming they don't have any damage yet, which doesn't usually happen. Anyway. Non-combat. So we can win through non-combat as well. Torbrand, Thane of Redfell. Love Torbrand. Anyway, he is 1 and 3 red for a 2/4. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent, it deals 2 extra, basically. And then yeah, Molten Gatekeeper. Whenever whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, 1 damage to each opponent. So this makes it to 3 damage every time a creature enters the battlefield. Remember, all those tokens are creatures. Creature tokens are creatures. Yeah, this doesn't specify non-token creature, right? Any creature entering. So you're gonna like cast a spell, a non-token or a non-creature spell that's gonna create a bunch of tokens. That's gonna like immediately go ahead and just do a pile of damage. You can start like just really sapping them out really quick. Even if you're making 2 tokens, that's 6 damage per spell. Per spell. Extra. Just bonus. It's like 2 lightning bolts bonus. Anyway. And Storm Sculptor. So it's 3 blue red. Sorry, I'm kind of covering that. I thought I fixed that. So when it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue and red elemental creature tokens. Nice to have. And whenever you cast a spell that has Convoke, this deals 1 damage to each opponent and each battle they protect. Sure. We are playing a battle, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, you're going to be able to cast so many Convoke spells. So especially, there are Convoke spells that are also creatures. So it's going to set off both of them, and Torbrand will increase their damage for both of them. So per creature you cast with Convoke, you can do 6 extra damage to each opponent. With 3 opponents, that's 18 damage just for casting. Just for casting. Eey. Part 3, combos and tactics. So getting the most value, right? We want to make sure we're aware of how we can kind of use different mechanics in the deck. So granting Convoke is very, very important, obviously. We already talked about, the battle one. So there's 1, and here's 3 more. Alright, Archway of Innovation. This is a newer land, so it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for 1 blue. The next spell for 1 blue and tap, the next spell you cast this turn has Convoke. So this does cost you mana, but it costs you 1 blue mana to grant something Convoke, and then you can probably just cast that for free. Huge, huge. Flock Chaser Phantom. He does have Convoke also, so he's one of the Convoke creatures. He has a 6 CMC, which seems high, but with Convoke we don't care. Flying Vigilance. Vigilance is always nice. So whenever he attacks, the next spell you cast this turn has Convoke. So again, this is a great anti-flyer deck because your commander and creatures both have like vigilance flying combination, which is very, very effective. Anyway, yeah. He attacks and then basically main phase 2, first spell you cast, automatically convoke spell. Automatically scry 2, draw 1, and all whatever benefits you have. This is so many triggers. And finally, Wand of the World Soul, we already talked about, but yeah, being able to tap to just make anything, any spell have convoke, just huge, especially with those X spells. Tap triggers, okay, so these are things that will go off every time they're tapped. So Fallow Sage, if it's tapped, draw a card, great. Same Taft, we already talked about, and this is Quicksilver Dagger. I wanted to talk about Quicksilver Dagger because it does not do this, okay? You have to tap this to activate the ability. The ability does not activate whenever the creature is tapped, alright? So this might kind of look like something that taps and you just draw a card and do 1 damage. It's not. You gotta put this on something and then tap that thing and then you get to draw a card and do 1 damage to anything. This is red and blue, so if you have Torbrand out, if you if you do that 1 damage to an opponent, it's 3. So this is kind of like a Torbrand and this together are basically like, again, Lightning Bolt. Free Lightning Bolt and card draw. Card draw, Lightning Bolt. Token Synergy. Mentor of the Meek. Alright, so anything with power 2 or less, pay 1, draw a card. If it enters the battlefield, sorry. I'm assuming everyone knows this card. It is 2 and a white for 2/2, just in case you don't know, Mentor of the Meek. Impact Tremors. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Impact Tremors deals 1 damage to each opponent. Alright, so you're going to have all of these triggers going off where you're just like making tokens. Every time you make a token, it's 1 damage to every opponent. And if Torbrand's on the battlefield, 3 damage. So, activating those triggers, whatever you're doing, it's basically doing, what? 9 damage to your opponents each time you cast a spell. Really crazy, really fast. Rose Rune Treasure, we talked about already, getting those treasure tokens, yeah. And Rosy Cannon Cotton of South Lane. I think I need new glasses already. When she comes in, create a food token. Also, every time you make a token, you put a +1/+1 on anything you want. If you start putting those in your commander, you're going to be able to get the commander damage like 1 shot pretty quickly, right? You need to, have 15 tokens enter the battlefield. Again, she makes 1, so 14 more after she makes that food token. No, you need 16, so you would need 15 more, right? 21 commander damage, right? Finally, Nesting Devhawk. At the beginning of combat on your turn, populate. Again, you're making a copy that's a copy of another token. Basically, focus on those like elementals that are more than 1 color or anything that's more than 1 color that you actually use. We make those citizen tokens that are green and white. We don't care about green, so don't copy those. I would copy something with flying if you need blockers, or something like, the 2 color things for convoking. Non-creature spells. So triggers on non-creature spells are really important. Jeskai Ascendancy. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a plus. We talked about this already, so I won't go over it again. Whirlwind of Thought. Cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. Hey, another card, draw. Saheeli we talked about already as well. And whenever you cast that non-creature spell, create a token. Okay. Monastery Mentor. Yeah. Anyway, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 monk creature token with prowess. You can cast a pile of spells. Prowess, +1/+1 for each non-creature spell you cast. They get +1/+1 until end of turn. Those can get out of hand pretty quick, right? If you're doing your token creature win con, that can pile up. Oh. Third Path Iconoclast. Alright. Whenever you cast a creature non-creature spell, again 1/1, colorless soldier creature token. So unfortunately it is colorless as well. But anyway. Alternate evasion. Okay, so here we're talking about even more evasion, right? Can't get enough. Can't get enough. Teleportal. Target creature you control gains +1/+0 until end of turn and is unblockable. What's really good and kind of a downside I want to point out about this is that it has overload. I love overload. We did a video on overload. So yeah, you're going to make everything, all creatures that you have, unblockable and give them +1 damage. This is great for your tokens. Could use it for your commander as well, right? You might as well. Your commander has vigilance. Just attack, right? Make your commander unblockable and just +1 damage is a little bit closer to you know, that one-shot thing. So commander damage one-shot. In a way, Wonder. So as long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying. Very easy to give just everything flying, right? Evasion. Flying is probably the most common form of evasion. It's most easily counteracted, but it is so good when you've just got like a horde of flyers. And Jeskai Monk, we talked about already, so yeah, I won't go over that again, but tapping down everyone's boards is a very effective way to get a win. Yeah, it sure is. Alright, so this has been Kasla, the Broken Hero, Convoking Queen. I hope you guys like it. Again, I did some upgrades on this, so I want to play it again soon. Anyway, take it easy.